Hello, welcome back to the Ileana Lamar Podcast. I am your host, Ileana, and today we've got an amazing guest who is going to be helping us talk about relationships. Our guest today is Adan Montalvo. He is a licensed professional counselor with over 14 years of experience across hospital systems, schools, outpatient programs, and emergency shelters. He is the founder and CEO of Victory Counseling Services, where he focuses on helping individuals navigate anxiety and depression with compassionate, evidence-based care. Adan is also a mentor to future counselors and a former Division I college basketball player at Texas A&M Corpus Christi and Texas A&M Kingsville, earning induction into the Tamuk Hall of TAMUCC honor with his 2007 team. A devoted husband and father, coach, and lifelong learner, Adan brings a powerful blend of mental health expertise, leadership, and real-life perspective to today's conversation. Help me welcome Adan Montalvo. Yay! I'm so glad. I am really excited to have Adan here because he actually was one of our star athletes, was like a son to us, and I was able to witness so much greatness from you, and to have you sitting there, thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk today about the 5 pillars. That's what we try to cover in our podcast. So we're going to try to get to them. We might get to 1, we might get to 2, we might get to all 5, which is the LAMAR 5. We talk about emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. How do you feel people are handling the emotional side at this point?
Not so good.
Okay.
Not so good. So I want to say post-COVID, after 2020, we had a skyrocket in what you call anxiety and depression. You know, it seems like after that, people have a hard time just dealing and handling with their emotions, especially in the youth. And what people don't realize, what COVID did for a lot of people think short-term, but not so much the long-term effects, right? The example that I always use is you have kids who were maybe juniors and seniors in high school, right? They're involved in extracurricular activities, and that got shot down, right? So let's say COVID happened around February, March. You know, if you're a senior, you're in baseball, you're in track, and that's your sport, that got taken away. Prom, graduation. And let's just say that gets taken away, and let's say you don't have many friends. So now let's say you have 1 or 2 friends, well, that gets taken away from you. Well, now you have to go into college, right? And then, you start off college online. So now you don't have those social interactions, right? So what I think happened, a lot of people lost those social skills, not being able to cope. And now, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, now we're seeing that, or at least I see that. And I hear it through my practice, right? Clients say, I don't have friends, I don't socialize, or, I don't go out and meet people. A lot of single individuals, they don't have, the skills to interact and, build those relationships because that's what they want. It's like, I eventually want to be with somebody. I want to get married. I want to have family. But they don't put themselves out there. So when you ask the question, it's like, how are they handling it? Well, I say not so well, just because of everything that I see on my end, right? But, I'm hoping that's where I come in and obviously, provide that guidance that they might need.
You mentioned COVID, which I think it was a very, very big shift in everything. I am very introverted. I like to be out there and stuff like that. But for me, it was kind of like, okay, peaceful, restful time. But for Maya didn't even get to finish 1 year of college. She had to do everything online. And then graduation, they had to sit down 6 feet away from each other. So are you seeing that be something long-term, or is it something that we're kind of going around back to, okay, we need to take care of our emotions?
No, I think it's a little bit of both, but I would say long-term just because of the fact that when it happened, right, let's use our example, right? It's like, you're an introvert, so that would be your way of coping at that point, right? I was like, hey, it's me time, I'm alone, et cetera, et cetera. So what's happened is like with the younger, generation, it becomes where it's like they think that that's a healthy way of doing it every time. Wow. And then what also skyrocketed during that time was like a lot of alcohol, right? It's like people started drinking a lot, right? So again, it's just like, I'm fine, I'm drinking, et cetera, et cetera. But let's say now you add, hey, I'm going through an issue, and like, I started to drink, and they start to isolate themselves because, hey, I'm an introvert, et cetera, et cetera. Now you're keeping yourself away from, what probably, can be beneficial for you. So that's why I say it could be long term.
I'm going to use today's session as a therapy session. No, because I know a lot of people struggled. And you're right, because I guess because I was able to kind of take that time for rest and peace, but I knew what was before then. I've spoken to people before and they think like, oh, we're still going to be finding out things with COVID and the effects like way, way later.
Yeah. And they think like they normalize it, right? It's like, oh, like I don't have to go out. Like I'm used to being by myself. You know, I'm fine. But by the time you know it, it's like that I'm fine. It's like I'm not so fine. And then it's like, then at that point, it's like, then they get anxiety. It's like, oh, I'm anxious. Like, well, what if I go out and what are they going to say? What are they going to think? And they start to question everything. And it just becomes a problem.
What do you suggest people do to help with learning to regulate emotions, to help getting them out there?
Yeah. So I would say first stop, right? Because a lot of times we're just going 100 miles per hour, right? So I always tell clients, like, hey, you want to stop. You want to stop and you want to process, okay, what is it that I'm thinking? You know, because I always say, you know, the moment that you start to feel a certain way, that's your cue, right? I want to ask myself, you know, what is it that I'm thinking about or what is it that I'm doing? Those two things are going to tell you a lot about, obviously, what's going on with me, right? So if I'm feeling anxious, you know, I'm first question, what am I thinking or what am I doing? If I'm watching TV, well, hey, that's not going to make me anxious. So then it has to be my thoughts, right? If I'm thinking like, well, you know, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? What are they going to do? So then now I know I'm going down the rabbit hole, right? So what I want to do at that point, now we want to question our thoughts, right? We want to challenge those thoughts. Is there any evidence behind whatever it is that I'm thinking? Is there any truth to it? Has it happened to me before, right? And a lot of times, most of the time, what I've learned through my clients is like the answers are always going to be no, no, no. So at that point, I got to redirect what I'm thinking about. I got to reframe it, right? So that way I can start to process it in a way where it's going to be more rational and more logical. It's not just based on pure emotion.
You gave great advice that, boom, I mean, I love it. Now, do you I know you work with counseling, that's what you do, so you're a little biased. Do you suggest people going and seeking that? Because I know myself, I have gone to therapy and I feel better, like it just being heard, being able to like express that.
I would suggest and recommend, one, if you're ready for it, right?
Okay.
And then two, I always tell my clients, counseling is like shopping, right? Sometimes you're not going to get the right fit for you the first time around or the second time around. And then that's where the problem happens, because it's like they get unmotivated. It's like they get discouraged. They're like, well, no, I don't want to go because counseling doesn't work, right? It's not that maybe it didn't work. It's that maybe that counselor wasn't your counselor, or maybe you just weren't ready for it, right? So you have to be ready for, you know, the help. That's one. And then two, don't get discouraged if the counselor, you might not mesh with them. And that's fine. I always tell my clients, it's like, hey, like, you can tell me if this is not working. I'm not going to feel bad. I always tell them, hey, I've been doing this for X amount of years. Like, I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to get sad.
Right.
Just tell me, because at the end of the day, this is about you. I'm trying to help you.
Right.
And if I'm not the person for you, then that's fine. So, yeah, recommend it if you're ready for it.
Recommend it if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
You played Division I basketball, which is something that is very rare. This is not even part of the questions. I'm going to turn these over. Okay, you played Division I basketball. You came out of the RGV. That alone is rare. You know, you went and did all that. How do you think that, though, correlates, and how do you balance that? Because you were so competitive. You were this, like, do your best. I can be compassionate, but then sometimes I'm just like, the answer's right there in front of you. How do you balance that part? So those are a bunch of different questions.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can start off with the reason why I played, you know, at the next level was because of you, right? You helped and guided me through that whole process, and obviously you and your family were very, you know, helpful. So obviously very appreciative for that. But one of the things, you know, once I left, you know, it was like a switch, right? I had to grow up. Right, you know, I was so used to, you know, mom doing things for me, etc. And over there is like, hey, I gotta ask questions. You know, I gotta know where this class is at and this class, and I gotta know what class I gotta take. So now I gotta speak up, right? And you know, just leaving in itself was obviously a blessing in disguise for me. But one of the things that I learned is like, nobody's gonna feel bad for you. You know, it's like, hey, it's like sink or swim. You know, either you're gonna make it or not, because. You know, I talk about it with my brother a lot, where it's like, you know, sometimes like I want every Valley kid to leave, but I want every Valley athlete to go play. And what hurts my heart the most is when a Valley kid comes back and says, well, the coach didn't like me, or, you know, I wasn't playing, or they didn't treat me this way, etc. Because for me, it's like, hey, like that's an excuse. It's like I had to redshirt my first year, right? And I was thinking like, hey, I'm this Valley athlete who's great, etc. But then I get there, the speed is different, so I had to adjust to that, and it took me about a year to finally adjust. So I redshirted my first year, but it could have been so easy for me, like, well, hey, you know what? They don't like me. They don't want me. Yeah. And they're not willing to sacrifice and put the time into it. So, I had to learn that, hey, you know what? I had to be patient, right? And I had a lot of adversity, too, because obviously that I was there 2 years. We went to the March Madness tournament. My coach leaves. The coach that comes in, he's like, hey, we're not renewing your scholarship. So then that was another hurdle. I was at that point, it's like, hey, I was 3 years into school.
I was so pissed, just so you know.
But I still had the 4 years of eligibility. Yeah, I had the 4 years of eligibility. So it was one of those things where it's like, hey, like, do I just graduate and that's it? Or do I, transfer? Luckily for me, my coaches that left were the ones that were able to get me into Kingsville. But all that was adversity, and I had to kind of go through it. But looking back now, I mean, it was the best thing that could happen to me. Yeah.
Blessing. At the time, like I said, I was pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you were, but that shaped. And a lot of times those obstacles and challenges, they lead us into that direction. I constantly talk about, we've got to stop looking at it as rejection, more of a redirection. Do you implement that kind of thing or into your practice? And how do you feel about?
Yeah, because for me, it becomes about like, what behaviors do we need to change, right? Because again, you're here for a reason. You're feeling some type of way, and you're probably not feeling happy because you're here, right? So there's what behaviors do I have to change, right? So again, I got to self-reflect, and it's like, okay, what patterns do I notice in my life that I need to disrupt and change, right? Because if we're not paying attention to it, then we're just going about life, right? Subconsciously, we're just going, right? So it's like, okay, like, hey, like I'm very big on highs and lows. I'm like, hey, walk me through your highs and lows of the week. Right? Because that's going to tell me what's working for you, what doesn't. If you tell me, hey, Tuesday was a great day for you, I want to know about Tuesday. Because I want to implement more of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. See what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So at that point, it becomes a behavior thing, right? And then who controls the behavior?
Yeah, we do. We are the creators of our reality.
Yeah. So at that point, there's an accountability aspect of it. I'm like, okay, so now there's an accountability aspect of it. Okay, so now you tell me, hey, I felt great on Tuesday, and I felt like crap on Wednesday. So now I can make a conscious choice. Right. Do I want to feel great on Thursday, or do I want to feel like crap on Thursday, based on how I'm going to approach the day? Wow. So now it becomes that conscious choice that you got to make.
Oh, that's true. That's deep. It is. And I talk about, and you said highs and lows, and I talk about like the roller coaster, but I hadn't think of what's happening on your highs, and let's do more of that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Men against women. You see that constantly going on, in men bashing women, women bashing men. You have a beautiful wife, beautiful family, all that stuff. How do you see that, first of all, the men versus women thing? Are you seeing that in your practice? Because I see it, it's all over the place. It's like people don't even think the other, it's like we're enemies, it's kind of become that, it's like a political thing or whatever. It's like the men versus women. And how are you seeing that? Are you seeing that?
Yeah, no, 100%. So post-Trump and post-COVID, right, the amount of clients that I've gotten because of those two things is just skyrocketed, right? So to your question is, yes, I am seeing that where I'm going through a separation. Hey, this person that I thought I knew is not the person. Like, how could they support red or blue? I don't talk to my grandparents anymore. I don't talk to my brother. I don't talk to my sister.
Serious, yeah.
I'm going through a divorce. So, and that's post 2016, 2020. The amount of clients that I've gotten just because of that reason in itself is a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Family dynamics have been messed up because of COVID and because of politics. Those two topics.
And what do you think, though, about now the gender? Do you see the gender wars happening or no?
I wouldn't say I see it as much as, what we just spoke about. Yeah, it's not too much.
Post-COVID and post.
At least for me, right, in my practice.
I have clients that are just like, I don't even want to deal with that. I don't even want to deal with a man. I don't want to deal with a woman. And I'm just like, have we gotten to that point?
Yeah, well, the way I see that is I see that as an excuse, right? Okay. So if let's say somebody comes to me, I'm like, okay, like what's really keeping you from wanting to be in a relationship with either a man or a female, whatever it might be, right? Because again, it's like you can use that as an excuse, like, okay, like maybe they don't share their same values or morals, et cetera, et cetera. But is that really going to be the deal breaker for you, right? Or is there something deeper rooted, right? Because a lot of times there is. There might be, scared. They might be scared to trust again. They were heartbroken at some point, so they feel that maybe they dated somebody with this belief, and if I date somebody again with a similar belief, the same thing's gonna happen, right? So they're already projecting that, hey, this is what's gonna happen to me, right? So that's how I kind of go about situations like that, where it's okay, like, hey, is there something more deeper rooted?
I help do that. I help coach and stuff like that with relationship coaching, and I'm so good at getting these people to get it going. But I'm going to be honest, I have no shame in my game. I have trouble. You just said about not trusting again, or they're scared or things like that. Okay. So, and how do you what is your philosophy? Because my philosophy works on these people, but my philosophy doesn't work on this. Well, how do you work with like your clients, or is it all like on a different basis?
Yeah, well, every client's going to be unique, right? They're all different. But I always say, like, well, hey, you're with this person, or you're trying to be with this person, and you want to give them the benefit of doubt, right? Life's about risk, right? Any decision that we make in life is a risk. Me coming here is a risk. I could have gotten in a car accident, right? But am I going to keep myself from not going to the podcast because I'm scared that I might be in a car accident? Like, no. So same thing is, like, at some point, you're going to have to take a risk with the partner. Now, what I tell them is, like, hey, what did we learn from the previous relationship, right? What were the red flags, right? Because now you're hoping that if I see a red flag, hey, red flag, maybe I'm not going to entertain them 3, 6, 9 months because I've already learned. Now, if you're not learning from your past experiences, then that's a bigger issue, right? Because then you can't put yourself in a situation where your relationship is going to flourish because I didn't really learn, right? So that's how I kind of work with those clients, where it's like, hey, no, like, well, what didn't you like? Well, I don't like that they didn't communicate. I didn't like that, they mistreated me. I didn't like that they did this. I'm like, is this person doing that? No. This, no. This, no. Well, hey, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It's a risk, right?
Could you be so self-aware that you... I tell people, I think I just healed too much.
You heal too much?
I think I went too much to the healing and stuff like that. It's like, no. I'm so glad. Okay, so what do you see, or what would you tell them, or what would you even tell maybe your daughter in the future? I know you probably don't want to think about that. What would they need to look for something to be healthy? To be in a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I think if I were to answer it in a way where I would tell my daughter, I think I would focus more on just empowering my daughter, right? And one, empowering her, right? Building her self-esteem, and then modeling what I would want for her to look in a relationship, right? Because, kids are very, very smart, right? And they absorb everything, right? So those are the things that I would focus on with her, not so much, hey, what to look for, et cetera, because that will come naturally, right? If I'm a person of high self-esteem, well, hey, I'm not going to let this, brokey come in here and try to tell me what to do. And I was like, well, no. If, my father was, opened the door for my mom, or he cooked for my mom, well, hey, those are the things that I'm going to want. You would hope, right? Yeah. It would come naturally for her. So that's how I would approach it. Now, let's say fast forward, she's an adult, and she didn't have me, or that presence. Is I'm focusing more on the communication part, right? I always tell people, communication is the easiest but the hardest thing to do, right? It's so easy, we're doing it right now, right? But it's so hard to really get into, like, hey, once we get to expressing feelings, emotions, I don't like this, I don't like that. And it's not because it's hard to say, because it's draining, right? If I have to go tell my wife, hey, I don't like the way you threw out the trash, well, then now we're spending probably 15, 20 minutes as to why. A lot of people don't want to spend those 15, 20 minutes as to explaining why I don't like so that's why it becomes so hard. Yeah.
That's very draining.
Yeah.
Not like me. I expect people to read my mind. That's why, like, do I really want to? I'm going to give them a headache because I just read my mind, know what I want. That's it. Now, we talked about the emotions. We're talking about that. Is there any specific exercise or anything you do besides what you said about, okay, we're going to go to the highs and lows. What are we going to do? Let's focus more on that people that you suggest that people do to help their mindset become stronger? Because some people grow up in different environments. Some people, their first bullies might be in school, or lack of love might be from parenting. Like, is it different, or is there something that you let them know to help build that stronger mindset?
Yeah. No, well, yeah, one, it would be different for everybody, right? Because of everything that you kind of talked about. But I mean, you can go basic exercises, right? You talk about journaling, right? We can journal, right? Journaling. Why? Once you start to write, it's kind of just like a free association of your mind, right? It's just, you're going to keep going. You can come back, you can read it, and you can, help yourself process that, right? That would be one. Two, like we talked about, we want to make sure that we're disputing our thoughts, right? Is there any evidence behind whatever it is we're thinking? And then three, what I can think of is reframing, right? So we're so hard on ourselves as human beings, right? It's like, oh, I'm so stupid. It's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. It's like, you're like, hey, maybe I'm not as smart as I would want to be, but this is what I'm doing to get there. That's reframing, right? Where I'm not beating myself up. I'm going to reframe how I'm really thinking about it. I'm kinder to myself. And a lot of people struggle with that. They're so hard on themselves. It's like they don't give themselves credit for anything. I had a client just earlier today that I was having a conversation with him. And he's super depressed, super depressed individual, and he won't shower, he won't brush his teeth, right? A brand new client. So one of the things I told him last week is like, hey, let's start off baby steps, right? It's like, I'm gonna challenge you to like brush your teeth at least 3 times this week, and let's get in the shower at least once. He hasn't showered in 2 months, right? So then he did it, right? We met this at noon. We met, and then I was like, hey, like I just want to say that, hey, I'm proud of you. Like, well, yeah, but that's nothing. Those are easy things, right? It's like he was dismissive towards what he had accomplished, not knowing, hey, well, you haven't done it in 2 months, and nobody forced you. You did that, right? You made the decision to do that.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's why I say is like people are very hard on themselves. They don't give themselves credit for obviously what they do, and
And you said something. You spoke about a client you have, and I know that I've spoken to clients, and sometimes I always say I've heard everything, and then I hear something and okay, I haven't heard everything, and you mentioned something, and is there a message that you can tell people as far as, because knowing that somebody's going through something like that, and yet people are so like rude or disconnected or anything like that, what message, or what is there anything for anybody else that feels like, oh, my life's perfect, I don't need to go to therapy, oh, that person is going through that? What would you tell them? Because right now my heart, just hearing that, kind of just was like, is there something that you'd give a message to people as far as that, or is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, just be kind. That's what it comes down to, is like be kind, because it's like, that phrase that you never know what somebody's going through. And that's, actually true, because again, it's like a lot of people don't hear these stories. And like to what you said is like, just when you think you've heard everything, something always comes up. It's like, oh my God, it's even worse, right? So one, being kind, you want to be kind to each other, right? And treating others how you would want to be treated as well, right? Because again, you just never know. It's like, and you see it all over the place with like, a perfect example would be like road rage, right? It's like nowadays, it's like road rage might get you killed.
Now, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like somebody might have a gun and they might shoot you just because they're having a horrible day, right? So is just being kind, really. That's what I would say. That would be my message. Be kind to others.
Yeah. Well, it's important. I think that with what you said about, the clients that at least that you've been working with post-COVID and post, the political and all that stuff, you said be kind. Do you, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, and I'm stuck, but I see it in my head. My brain's working. But to where we get that unity, or is it just as simple as be kind? Do we complicate things too much, or is it as simple as just be kind? Because maybe it's because I see a world in my head, a vision, something that I have where we're not going through all the suffering. I'm a very compassionate person. I'm very empathetic. I absorb feelings. There was a recent study, I think done by Harvard, that I saw the other day about tears. If you're like something's going whatever, if like people that like hit their emotions, it's because their brain is getting the things quicker than others and things like that. So would there be something else besides the be kind? Because I think be kind, I mean, that should be the minimal. That's what we should all be doing. We shouldn't be, excuse my language, we shouldn't be assholes. We shouldn't be jerks to each other, besides the be kind, because it is that simple.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that comes to mind then is open-minded. Right, being open-minded, right? Because again, it's like one of the things that we've learned is like, and especially nowadays, is like not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to have the same point of view, same political beliefs, spiritual beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. Is can we be open-minded to the fact that whatever this person has to say, there's a reason why they believe that, right? So then I want to make sure that, okay, I'm going to take my time as, okay, let me listen to what they have to say as to, okay, where is this coming from, right? So that's probably the other thing that I would say, like, being open-minded.
Okay, we talked about communication. We're going to jump back in because you said that was the most important thing. So I want somebody that's watching. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could hit one person, and if it affects them, then great. The communication. You said that was the most. That was the way to get it done, and but it's also can be difficult, and it could also be draining. What is it? Are there techniques that you tell people? Do you say, okay, maybe couples, or go to date night, go to, is there something that you help as far as exercise so that they can get better at communication? Because I'm one of those that I can communicate, I can talk to you all day, but then when it's my feelings, I just kind of, I'll keep it in or whatever. Is there something that you...
Yeah, all the above. Yeah, it's like... my wife probably gets the worst version of me when it comes to communication, right? Let me tell you why. Well, part of my job is obviously counseling, right? Talking, listening, right? The last thing that I want to do when I get out of work is have a conversation with my wife. And it's like, I want to go watch TV and watch the game, and that's it, right? But I've had to learn the hard way, right? That's one of the issues. The second issue is that wasn't modeled, growing up in my household either. The communication wasn't really there between my parents. So I had to, be honest with myself, where I had to reflect, and I was like, hey, you don't know how to communicate, right? So I'm fortunate that my wife is one of those, like, no, we're going to talk about it. 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 So I've gotten better at it, right? I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but I've gotten better at it to where it's like, one, I'm listening to, okay, what does she need from me, right? That's the other thing is like, a lot of times we focus on the how, right? How are they saying things, right? If my wife is saying, hey, go throw the trash, versus, hey, go throw the trash, and I focus more on the latter, then I'm gonna become upset. But it's like, what is my partner telling me? Not how are they saying it? What are they saying? Because that's the difference, right? If I focus on the what, then I'm probably gonna be more even kill and be willing to have a conversation with you. But if I focus on the how, then I don't want to have a conversation with her. Like, not if you're yelling at me, for what? And then I'm going to get upset, and now we're fighting, and then it becomes a whole ordeal.
But it's so true that so many people didn't have that modeled because, that's how they were taught, and then they were taught, and then they were taught, and they were taught. How do you help people, or what would you say to them as far as, breaking that cycle? Would it be just like, if you really want it, then you've got to start doing it, as simple as that? And I'm kind of saying the answer, but I kind of want to get your take on it.
Well, one, we can do, like, let's say date nights with no kids, right? Let's say you have kids, you don't want to have the kids there, where you're taking that time to really, reconnect, right? You can do games, right? There's like index cards where you can buy like games where you like deep, intimate questions to ask your partner. You can do an activity like that. You can schedule time to have conversations, right? It's like, hey, like, we're going to use this time to really talk about finances, right? Or we're going to schedule this time to talk about, where we're going to vacation this year, right? And those things are going to help you because you start to practice, okay, like, hey, like, one, I have to sit down and have a conversation. Two, I'm getting the different point of view, right? It was like, hey, you're telling me, like, hey, you want to go there? How come? Why do you want to go to Hawaii this year? Why not go to Cancun? Well, I want to go to Hawaii because of this. And then you can start to ask questions, right? So now you're practicing. Right, you're practicing how to ask questions. You're practicing, like, hey, like, I can have a dialogue and not get so upset about anything. Right? Quick hitters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And people want to do it. The thing is, I think that people focus so much. Okay, I want my career, and I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work, but they want the relationship. They want the spouse because it is important, and yet we don't see the same work or the same, like, commitment to it. They just it kind of just becomes taken for granted if that's that.
Because sometimes we're not even there yet, right? We're not even to the communication part of it, right? So the other thing that I tell my clients that you can do, you can write them a letter, right? Or you can put it via text. But we're having a conversation as to, like, hey, we're not so good at communicating yet, so when I need to express myself, I'm going to text you or I'm going to write you a letter, right? Because we're not even there yet, right? I don't feel comfortable yet to where I can really express myself with you for whatever reasons, right? So that would be another kind of like little technique that you can utilize in your relationship. That way you can kind of like, okay, like one, you can let it all out, and then the person that's reading it, right, they have time to kind of really calm down before they have to respond via letter too, right? Because I'm not going to write you a letter and then I'm going to respond like, oh, what is this, blah, blah, because that's when arguments happen, right? So that would be another way to kind of go about it, because you might not even be there yet. And that's okay, right? Because again, that's us working it. That
Right.
we have to meet each other where we're really at. Yeah.
Now, the other side of it, you see infidelity skyrocketing. You see, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, I saw studies that said women, since the 1990s, it has jumped, since 1990s, about 40% jumped. That means that not only are women doing this, there's men that are also playing, how they like to call it on the female side chick. Do you see why that's happening? Do you think it's because of the workplace? Do you see it's because of this whole feminist movement? Like, is it a little bit of everything?
I would say access. It's so easy. You know, you have your apps, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you know, the dating, the Tinders, the Bumbles, right? There's so much access to it. So you're just swiping and like, oh, hey, this girl looks nice, or she looks hot, or she looks pretty. Well, hey, let me send her a message. Or I'm having a bad day and I got into it with my wife. Let me message. You know, or let me see what's out there, right? So I would say it's more of an access thing.
Access.
Yeah, I would say more of an access thing.
Access. I see. My thing is this, and I want to hear your opinion on it. What I have been seeing, especially because of that stat that I told you about, since 1990s, the 40%, is we have helped, and tell me if I'm wrong, you can, or give me your opinion, empower women. We've worked so hard to empower women because we were behind on a lot of things. There was a lot of things. So we worked so hard on empowering women. However, we didn't teach the men that were already empowered how to handle empowering women. So do you see that? Because I see that happening a lot, because some of my male clients, I'm teaching them how it's okay if this woman is like that. It's all right, you know, that's happening.
Yeah.
And then some women are so empowered and they're just like, are you seeing that happen or no?
Yeah, no, 100%, right? So I've had clients where they're being taken advantage of, right, by the empowered wife, right? Because again, it's like they're successful, they make money, et cetera, et cetera. So now they feel like, well, hey, I'm not good enough, right? Now, but it's the male's job to be either okay with it, right? Hey, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to be fine with it. Because again, it's like at the end of the day, we're a team, right? So that's what I try to tell them is like, hey, you can't forget that you're in this together. But again, how are you processing it, right? Because if I'm processing it in a way that I'm being irrational, then I'm going to start to feel thoughts, feelings, behaviors, those three things. I always tell people, those are your three cues: thoughts, feelings, behaviors. The moment you start to feel a certain way is because you're either behaving or thinking a certain way. So if I'm thinking that I'm not good enough, my wife makes more money, or my wife's out there, she's pretty, et cetera, well, then what's your self-esteem like as well, right? So then if you're not doing a good job at that, then that becomes the issue. Not so much that your wife's, killing it, because she's doing what she wants to do. She's, pursuing her goals.
There's so much that I want to talk to you. I have like 100 different ideas. This has been such a great conversation. What is another thing that I wanted to talk about? This is going to go like, you hear a lot about this narcissism. Everybody's saying that word. How do you feel about everybody's saying about that word? How do you feel?
I think it's that it's overly used. Yeah.
It's overly used.
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, because a narcissist, I mean,
it's just like easy to say.
Yeah, it's easy to say. It's easy to say, but to be narcissistic, you really, really have to be like sociopathic type of tendencies.
And everybody says it now. It's like the thing. That person's narcissist, or this is a narcissistic thing, or whatever.
Yeah, you have no heart. You have no empathy, no sympathy, no nothing. You walk over everybody. You'll step on everybody. You'll like do whatever it takes to get what you want, not caring. And I mean, I could count in one hand the type of, in the past 14 years of true narcissists that I've had.
Dealing.
Yeah.
It's just being loosely thrown everywhere that everybody kind of feels like the inferior part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, I want to like pick your brain, but you've given us some great nuggets. I'm so proud of you. The fact that you've done all of this. When I was coaching you guys, I wanted all of y'all to succeed. I wanted y'all to believe in yourself. That's why I was always kind of like that. But I also wanted to prove, hey, you know, a woman can do this. You know, a Hispanic woman can do this. And with these, we're going to all go and kick some ass. And so being able to have you here, it's like I told you, I wanted to have the whole team here. But each one of you have your dynamic stories.
Yeah.
Like, just know I'm so proud. And I just feel that what you're doing is holding like ripples, because you know, you star quarterback, you played Division 1, you're able to do that, and then to turn around and be able to continue to help people and counsel, like that's so
yeah.
so
No, thank you.
awesome, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you might not realize it, right? But it's like, okay, like the way what I would tell you is like understanding that everything that you did, the impact that it has had down here in the valley is tremendous, right? Because again, if you think about it, you're the one that started AAU basketball down here. There was no AAU travel team, you know, prior to this, right? So because of you, now that my son's playing, right, is you have, I don't know, 10, 15 different organizations just down here in the valley, right? So because of what you did, right, it started all that. Yeah, but that's the truth, right? It's like this is where it's like, hey, you might not be in that space anymore, but the lasting impact that you left behind when it comes to basketball is still there. I mean, it's every weekend when we're out there playing tournaments, it's like, hey, like somebody started that, and that person was you, right? And yeah, you have 10, 15 organizations now down here. Now, the talent might not be as good because it's all spread out, right? Before, you know, you had 1 or 2, you know, teams, and that was it, and all the talent was in those 2 teams. But now you have maybe one good kid in this team, another one over here.
I was very blessed that all of the good, you all ended up together. All of you all were awesome. And it was amazing to go out there and see you guys and see other teams think like, this is going to be an easy team. And it was like, they just, what do you, you know what, that's a question.
Yeah.
What do you, as far as that, like somebody that's feeling like that is going out to the world. You did say about that where you went to college and you had to kind of stick it out, that wants to do things and might feel maybe they've been bullied or they've been discriminated against, or even, let's talk about it, even the racial thing maybe happened. What would you tell them?
Yeah, no, what I would say to them is like, hey, like, I think we're a living testament of what we've been able to do down here. And I'm not only me, there's many athletes that have been able to go out and succeeded, right? So, you know, if there's doubt within anybody in your circle, your family that doubts you, don't let that stop you, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like you make that choice, right? And if you really believe in yourself, one, you got to put in the work, right? If you're really honestly putting the work, then hard work always pays off. I always tell people hard work pays off somehow or some way, right? Whether it's with what you're trying to accomplish or wherever it's going to kind of get you to. So I would tell them that it's like, hey, like you're not the first and you won't be the last, right? But if you really believe in yourself the way you think you do, then, you know, do it, right? Because it's reachable. I tell my son all the time, it's like one of the things that I work with my son the most, not so much like the basketball aspect of it. I work on the mental, right? Because, you know, what I see nowadays is like a lot of the kids are not as mentally strong. And maybe because I see it within my clients too, right? The mental aspect of it is not there. So I was like, hey, like if you have that, that's already an edge and advantage over somebody, because you can go to, you know, that kid and like talk smack and do whatever you got to do, and they're going to feel intimidated, right? So I focus a lot on the kid, and I'm like crazy on my son. I'm like, hey, you got to be crazy in the head. I'm like, you got to be crazy in the head. You're like, you're going to want it. You're like, but I don't live, you know, through my son, right? Because I've done it, right? I've done it. If anything, I lived through travel. It's like, hey, like we're going to go over here because I was never able to do this, right? But basketball, I've done that. I tell them like, hey, like it's up to you. Like if you want to be good, like I know the formula, right? So if you want to be good and you want to get to the next level, like you say you do, like I'm here.
And he's doing awesome. You all are doing awesome because you're doing that. We spoke a lot about the healthy relationships and the family and the counseling and stuff like that. But you all have done. You also do the youth sports.
Yes.
And all that stuff. Can you let us know a little bit about that before we?
Yeah. So when I first started, it was me and my brother. We started an organization, right? It was at Montalvo Basketball Academy, and my brother still does it with his girls team. But I've moved on from it, and now we're with Lalo. We're at 3-ball. Okay. And the only reason I left or why I stopped doing it is because, you know, one of the hardest things that I've learned is you need the permanent commitment. And it wasn't there at the time. So when I were like, hey, like there's a tournament over here, like let's go. Like, well, I can't. So then my son was being affected. I was like, well, hey, I can't have that. I need my son to kind of like be playing, right? Like I want him to play, and I want him. Let's go. So I had to make the decision. I talked to my brother, like, hey, I can't do this. And it was like I struggled for about like 2 years, and my wife was like, finally, like like you, because she had been telling me for the longest time, like, hey, like we got to move teams, we got to do something different because it's not working. Yeah. So, but no, we've landed there with Lalo, and it's been great. The parent commitment there with the team is great. It's like, hey, we have a tournament. Everybody's like, quick, let's go. So I'm in that space now. It's crazy. It's a crazy world, but I'm loving it. I help coach when I can, and that in itself is a blessing.
And you did mention something that is important, and we've probably said it a couple of times, that sometimes you've got to make the tough decision and move. And I think that's very, very hard. And I find myself in that space right now because there's so many big opportunities, and I'm kind of just like one foot. I need to like jump. Yeah. And I think that you saying that must have been.
Yeah. Difficult. Well, I mean, you've known me, right? I'm very prideful, right? Mm-hmm. So again, it's like when my last name's associated with something, it's like, hey, like no, like I'm gonna make it work, right? Yeah. But it was tough. It was tough leaving or not doing it anymore with the Montalvo Basketball Academy name, because it's like, hey, like no, this is who I am, and we're gonna make it work. But what I had to reflect on is like, hey, this is not about me, right? This is about my son, right? So I had to take that step back. Is like, okay, let me look at big picture here. Kind of going back to what I said is like, I'm not living through him, right? It's like, what's best for him, and what does he want? Or like, he wants to be playing. I was like, okay, well, hey, we need to put him in a situation where I'm going to help him succeed.
Right, of course.
See what I'm saying? So yeah, sometimes it's hard to make those decisions, but you gotta do what you feel is best for you. You know what I mean? And understanding that no matter what decision you make, there's going to be a positive or negative consequence. But the way I see things, even if it's negative consequence, you're learning something from that experience. So that's already a win. So you can be optimistic as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm so excited with this conversation, I honestly, for me, has been extremely, extremely insightful. Mm-hmm. Before we close off, is there anything else that you'd like to say to anyone? Because we got a lot of nuggets. I know I'm like, wow, I'm going to look back at the video and I'm going to, I got a lot of nuggets. Is there anything that you want to say, a message to viewer, somebody, anything?
Yeah, no, I would, the thing that I would say more is just kind of like the mental health aspect of it. If, you yourself, your loved one or your child is struggling with mental health, is, give it a shot, give it an opportunity. You never know how it can be beneficial for you. Suicide within the ages of 10 to 24 is the second leading cause of death in the United States.
You're kidding.
Right? Oh. So it's serious, right? I know with mental health, it's not as big as stigma as they used to be, right? People are becoming more accepting of it, but there's still that stigma there, right? So if you're struggling with it, give yourself an opportunity to, give it a shot and see what it does for you. My hope is that, it opens perspectives that maybe you're not able to see, and hopefully feel better about, your situation, because, hey, life is tough, right? But it shouldn't define you. You should be able to, be happy, feel good, be optimistic, and, pursue life the way you want to pursue it. And a lot of times people are stuck, right? And they don't want to get out of those situations, or they're scared to get out of those situations.
I think that's one of the main things, getting out of situations. And I also believe, 25 is the brain is the fully developed, so there's still... Oh man, we got to take care of those kids. That I didn't know that was that age group.
Yeah, 10 to 24. 10. Yeah, I want to say from the ages of 10 to 24, suicide is the second leading cause of death.
We got to work on that with the whole be kind and all that stuff. Adan, thank you for being here with us today. This was really, I'm telling you, I got so many nuggets today, and I know everybody watching will definitely get that. So thank you again. Thank you to Adan Montalvo, and thank you to everybody here watching. That was the Ileana Lamar Podcast. We will see you later.